Hello, my name is Kimberly. I have been working on self-improvement and self-analyzing my behavior from the past week and considering the importance of my interpersonal relationships. We need to analyze and we need to self-reflect. Like, for example, I was thinking that one of my weaknesses that I tend to I feel like I have a little bit of a penchant for fucking things up when things are going really well in my relationships. And it's because I get too excited. I get so excited. And I realize that's like a strength to have a lot of enthusiasm, but there's a weakness in there too. And so I was thinking about that, and I was actually kind of amused by how it reminded me of this one scene in Tommy Boy with Chris Farley, where he's explaining to David Spade the reason he can't close a sale is because he gets too excited, like when he's holding a puppy and the puppy is so cute that he's literally just like, oh, this puppy is so cute, and I want to squeeze it and give it so much affection and love, and then he accidentally kills the puppy because of how much he loves the puppy. And that's the reason he can't close a sale. And I feel like that's kind of like me a little bit. I feel like you don't want to beat yourself up over any like mistakes that you make, but you got to be able to analyze and self-reflect so you know what not to do again. Otherwise, you're just in this whirlpool of making mistakes and living this vicious cycle of a hell of your 20s, of being a degenerate and 20-something forever. You gotta improve every day and be a little bit smarter every day. And I was thinking, if I can work on this, then I won't be the one to kill the dick or kill the puppy in Chris Farley's example in Tommy Boy. I just noticed some parallel similarities there, and but it's all good. Like there's a reason why everything happens, and so I was just kind of like thinking about how I can be better in my behavior this past week. And I was working on some projects. Whenever I have a lot on my mind, I always dive into like 3 different projects. And I was doing laundry and a little bit of home decoration last night. And I decided to like treat myself after like 4 hours of work from like 11 to like 2:30ish. And that's like when it's quietest in the Bronx. I'm in the Bronx. I'm like way up north and like past Gun Hill, and it's always something going on outside. And it's just from 11 to 2, I like to work and get like fastidiously put my head down and get something done. And that's the only time it's really quiet here. And so I decided to treat myself. I'm taking out the trash, and I'm treating myself to a cigarette and a little toke at 2:30 in the morning out in the street. And I figure no one's going to be out there to bug me. That's kind of the reason I'm going to go out. And lo and behold, there's always somebody out there in the Bronx, because it's the city that never sleeps. New York City, we love you so much, New York City. And I'm taking out the trash, and I realize, he sees me lighting my cigarette, and I'm trying to chill, and he kind of comes up and he gets in my energy, and his hips are squared at mine, and I'm just like, I let him know as nicely as possible. I'm not actually trying to socialize. I'm just trying to take out the trash and have a little toke, man. And then he's insistent on lighting my cigarette, but I have a box of matches. I think it's more fun to light your cigarettes or your joints with matches. And he's insistent. He's like almost like giving me like a Rudolph nose, because he's like really trying to light my cigarette for me. And I just was like, God bless and thank you very much. And I didn't realize, I suppose though, I had a bit of a morose expression on my face while I was taking out the trash. And I think he picked up that energy and saw that, because for the next 120 seconds while I'm smoking that cigarette, it's like the end of like a little bit of a rush. It wasn't very big. He continues to ask me in the same tone of voice over and over, "You good?" And I just ignored him, and I was like, "How are you? Like, God bless you, thank you." But I didn't want to answer because I wasn't doing it. But I think he could pick up on that. But when somebody pushes your buttons, you almost want to cave at a certain point. When homeboy asked me for the 12th time, "You good?" He literally said it like that over for a dozen times. And I never answered him, but I was just like, "Yo, God bless, thank you, and I got this box of matches, I'm good, thank you, like, I don't need to have your light, thank you though." And I tried to be as polite as possible, and I went through a range of emotions. At first I wanted to like get like aggressive and be like, yo, if you don't back the fuck up, I'm gonna knock your teeth in. But I was like, don't get aggro. Like, I can't handle that. I can't handle that violence right now. I'm coming out for peace of mind. So let's not go that route. Let me just kind of, I was just like, yo, God bless, thank you. And he said, no, God bless you. And then he just kind of stood by me while I smoked that cigarette. And he had a little lawn chair. And then he continued to like, I suppose I had a sullen, morose expression on my face while I was just thinking about my past choices in life. And he goes, you good? A dozen times, and I went through a range of emotions. By the time it was like over and I had finished that cigarette, I was actually grateful for his support, because I figured, I didn't have this guy when I got an abortion last year. Could have used a little bit of that support. Nobody was there, when I got kicked out, when I was like a youngin' in college and didn't have housing. I'm gonna take this guy's support. I'm gonna take it. I realized by that time, it's nice to have this support and encouragement, and I realized it completely made me feel very loved, very cared for, and like my community is looking out for me. And I ended up coming back up into the apartment with a smile on my face, and I couldn't stop laughing and imitating him. You good? Your homeboy never said anything else like a dozen times while I smoked that cigarette, and I've never met anybody who is so insistent on my welfare. Truly incredible. The Bronx has an array of people here that would just, give you entertainment for days. This next story is a girl. She's cool. She's around. She's homegirl. I barely got to know her in the past couple of weeks. She sold me a pair of leggings the other day. She's real sweet. I think she was having a hard day, particularly yesterday. She comes up and she asked me for some cash, and I said, well, I just hustled for $2 so I could have $7 to afford this sandwich for me, my girl, but I can get you a Lucy, 75 cents at the bodega, right? You want a cigarette? And she goes, okay. Well, she's like, kind of throws a fit, and she really wants like 5. She really says, oh well, let me get 5. And I was like, well, like I said, I gotta keep this. I gotta eat. I gotta get this sandwich. And I'm splitting it with my girl, so I can't. And she goes, well, let me get $1. And that's the way that people survive here, is like they barter cash. And I go, well, like I said, let me give you a compromise here, because I gotta get this sandwich, and I just hustled for $2 to afford a $7 sandwich. So let me give you a compromise here. I'm gonna give you some change. And I start handing her dimes and nickels and quarters and pennies. And to my disappointment, she starts throwing the pennies down onto the sidewalk. And at first I was like, is this like reverse code for telling me that she wants to be my pimp in the future? And then I was like, oh, this is actually kind of humiliating, because at a moment where I'm trying to offer financial help out of humanitarian aid and an effort to have compassion and help another in need, she's throwing my own money at me on the ground. And I was like, well, it's humiliating enough that this is happening, and I'll just leave the pennies on the ground, because they're just pennies. And then I was like, actually, okay. And no, I need those. And then she takes the dimes and the nickels and the quarters, and she just like says, okay. She gets a little fussy, and I think she's a really sweet girl. I think she's having a really hard day. And so I just said, there you go with 75, and enjoy it. I gotta go and order the sandwich from the bodega. And she kind of huffs and puffs and walks out. And I was like, I think that was the reverse code for wanting to be my pimp. Like that's how I'm gonna look at it. But I guess we'll have to see how that goes. Wait for the future, and see if she wants to be my pimp. I think we have a long ways to go if it's starting out in pennies, but I'm optimistic. The last story I have is a shout out to my best friend. And it's just a little funny anecdote on how you have, this is how you have a good friend versus a best friend. This is the golden rule test. You tell your friend, hey, I'm moving apartments. If it's a best friend, if she's your best friend, or for any men watching, if you got a best friend and he says, I'll show up, and they just volunteer their time and their muscular strength to help you move, they show up on time without complaining, that's a best friend. That's how you know. She goes, okay, I'm gonna show up on time. I'm gonna show up with my muscular strength. You didn't ask me to be here, but I'm gonna help you move. And she goes, okay, let's go, bitch. We're moving you in. She puts that headboard over her shoulder and she says, yo, fam, keep that lobby door open. She's carrying the headboard in. I didn't even ask her to help me move, bro. That's how you know you got a best friend for life. Thank you so much, New York. My name's Kimberly Ponce.